This is Leftist ASMR, and today I am going to be doing a video that is less political in nature, but more so having to do with being queer. This channel, I made it originally to be a video to talk about being a leftist, and that's what I'm going to continue to do, but I also think being queer is a really big part of my identity and who I am. So I definitely want to talk about being queer on my channel, and I think it's just really interesting to hear about people being queer and their experiences and how people navigate the world as queer people. So I want to contribute that to all of you in ASMR form, because I think talking about queerness should be relaxing. It's relaxing for me, so I hope you all feel the same way. But today's video, what I really want to do is kind of just really in a lighthearted way go through my experience dating and talk about kind of just like run through a list of the people I've dated and my experience with each person, and talking about it partly because I woke up this morning feeling really emo randomly and thinking about all of the guys and girls that I've been with and people that I've been with, and I just wanted to talk about it, and I thought you all might be the perfect people to share my stories with. A lot of debate in my head whether I was going to talk about high school and dating in high school for this video, and the debate in my head was, okay, is high school dating something that's really relevant to my life? Is that something I want to share with the world? And I thought it is important because it is part of my life and it's part of being gay. It's like being gay in high school, and I think maybe a lot of you, if you are gay or queer, can maybe relate to my experiences. So definitely wanted to include it. So here we are. I'm going to talk about my first experiences dating. I think the first person I ever dated was in probably 7th grade. I think all throughout middle school I wanted to be dating. It was the cool thing to be doing, was to have a girlfriend on the cheerleading team, and I really wanted to have a girlfriend on the cheerleading team, as all, I guess, boys at the time wanted to have. Unfortunately, I was not popular enough to have a girlfriend on the cheerleading team, so that never happened for me. But I did end up dating this girl. I'm gonna make up names. Let's say her name was Jessica. I ended up dating this girl named Jessica, who was really cool, and who I think now actually might be, or might identify as a lesbian. I'm not sure, but she was really cool at the time. I remember we played Zelda together, and we listened to Gwen Stefani, and her parents were really sweet, and I remember they were Swedish, and they took me to IKEA once, and that was the first time I had ever been to IKEA, and they bought me food, and they were just a nice family. And for our first anniversary, I dated this girl I think for a whole year, and for our anniversary we went to Olive Garden, and I remember it was such a big deal to like go to Olive Garden growing up because it was considered fancy by like my family standards of what fancy meant. So it was like a big deal. Like I was taking Olivia to Olive Garden, and I had her like a cute button-down shirt, and it was fancy. And I think we actually had our first kiss that day back at my house afterward. But it's really hard to remember. This was like 7th grade, so I was, didn't even have my bar mitzvah yet. I was like 13, 12, I don't know. Maybe I was 13, so I had my bar mitzvah. So that was my first girlfriend, Jessica, and I hope she's doing really, really well. I think we broke up probably because, we just got older. Maybe, I don't know, things happen. I don't really know why we broke up. Maybe because I wanted to be single, I don't know, in 8th grade. I couldn't tell you. But then the next girl that I dated was a girl again, and this was in 8th grade to 9th grade, so like ages 14 to 15, and her name, let's say, was Mary. Her name was not Mary. I don't know, it's the first name that came to my was in the marching band. So was I. She actually ended up going to a different high school than I did, but we were both in the marching band. She also really liked Pokemon, which I also really liked Pokemon. And I remember she was the first person that I was ever, like, more sexual with, I guess. We, had more of, like, a sexual relationship than I had had before. I was a little bit older. That we were not having sex or anything like that because we were really young. Not that young people don't have sex, and not that I don't, not that I judge young people who have sex, but we just weren't having sex. I felt like I was too young. Also, in hindsight, I'm not that interested in having sex with a woman, so that could also be part of it, but I don't think she wanted to have sex with me either. Actually, I remember being really sad the way we broke up is I was working for her dad, actually. Her dad owned this, like, recreation park area where people would have, like, family reunions and stuff, or, like, school field trips would happen there, and there was a mini golf course, and at the time, my job was to, like, be the mini golf course attendant, so I would, like, pick up all the balls that, like, went into the poison ivy. And I remember the reason we broke up one time is because I was at a party and we were playing spin the bottle, and I remember texting her and I said, "Is spin the bottle count as cheating?" or something like that, and she was like, "Yes, it definitely counts as cheating." And then the next day she broke up with me at work, I believe, like when I was, like, working for her dad. She broke up with me, which, definitely my fault. I was so stupid. Like, why did I even ask that? I don't know. Couldn't tell you. Just dumb boy being stupid, getting dumped. But I was heartbroken after she broke up with me. I really was. We dated for a while. We went to, like, Warped Tour together, and we, like, listened to all the same music. So I definitely thought she was amazing, and was sad when she dumped me, even though I deserved it. Moving into high school, let's see. My first girlfriend in high school, let's say her name was Danielle. Her name was not Danielle, but let's say that was her name. And Danielle was, and still is, a really cool person. Danielle was, like, one of those people who tried really hard in school and tried really hard in, like, all aspects. I remember she was even, like, someone who, like, went really hard during gym class. Like, the people who go hard during gym class, and sometimes it's weird and, like, you're just kind of a little bit judgy, or at least I was, like, people going so hard for gym class, and, like, but she did in a way that was, like, not at all cringy. She went hard in gym class, and I was like, wow, that's so hot and cool. So yeah, I dated her. Danielle was really great, and we dated for maybe, like, a year and a half, so, like, most of my freshman year of high school going into sophomore year. Danielle and I also never had sex, but, at the time I thought that I really enjoyed, like, hooking up with her. I think I did. Like, in hindsight, as a gay guy, it's, like, hard to say, but I really do think that I enjoyed hooking up with these women and, like, got something from it. But in hindsight, like, would I ever hook up with a woman again? I don't think so. So it's hard to say. But yeah, Danielle was great. I think that I ended up breaking up with her because I wanted more time with my friends. Like, what does that even mean? Like, I was 15 or 16. Why did I feel like that was important? Like, a reason to break up with someone? I don't know, but I did. After I broke up with Danielle, I dated, I believe, one more girl, and she was really cool. I still think this person's cool. I still follow all these people on, like, Instagram and Twitter. Let's say this person's name was Casey. Her name was Casey, okay? And Casey and I were in the same literature class, like the same English class. I think that's how we became friends. And we messaged back and forth on, like, Facebook Messenger for so long. And I believe that, I remember sending her, like, lyrics all the time of, like, my favorite songs and being like, oh, listen to this. And it was actually, like, looking back, I think I actually sent her lyrics to, like, Weezer, the band Weezer, which is so funny to think, like, that was what I was listening to at the time, and that is what was making me think of my girlfriend. So far, I dated 3 girls, and they were great. They don't think they knew that I was gay, but I think they all know that I'm gay now. Someone I'm gonna tell you about, but I don't want to talk too much about, is this one guy that I was really, really in love with in high school. We did have like some experiences I'm not going to talk too much about just because I don't feel comfortable, but there was a guy in high school as well that I had experiences with and that I was really in love with, and it was pretty toxic. And me and him were experiencing things for a lot of high school, so I was experiencing things with him while being with these other women, which now in hindsight I feel like really awful about. You should never cheat on someone. And I wasn't really cheating, I was just like emotionally in love with this other guy while I had these girlfriends. So it's complicated and I don't feel proud of that, but it's something that happened and I guess I have to take accountability. And I mean, high school was just complicated for me in a lot of ways, being closeted, so dating was just complicated, and I guess it's just not going to look neat and pretty when you're closeted living in New Jersey. It's just not going to. So that's all I'll say about high school. I want to move into college now. So in college I was with a lot of guys, like casually. I never had a boyfriend in college, but I'll just go through quickly like all the different guys that I dated that I can remember. The first guy I dated in college, I'm not going to give you their real names. Let's say his name was Solomon. The reason I gave you the name Solomon is because this guy was also Jewish, and Solomon's a Jewish name, so that's what came to hit my mind. But the funny story about Solomon is I think like the day we met was we went to this party, and after the party, it was in a dorm room. We were making out in the elevator, and as we were making out, that elevator door opened, and one of my friends, is my friend Nico, still my friend, was on the other side of the elevator. So I'm making out with this guy, kissing him. The elevator door opens, and my friend is standing outside of the elevator, and like me and this guy are making out inside of the elevator, and he doesn't get in, and he's just laughing, and I'm laughing. So I always just thought that was a funny story. Like, if you can imagine that happening, Nico must have been like, literally, why is Eric hooking up with this random guy in the elevator? But I ended up dating Solomon for a little bit, not seriously, but casually for a while. And then I think he actually broke up with me, like in the hallway of my dorm room. And I was like, okay, like I guess we're over then. The funny thing is about Solomon is that he still DMs me to this day, like asking me how I'm doing and being flirty. And I'm like, Solomon, you dumped me when I was 18. So that was him. Oh my god, how did I literally forget? I skipped someone. So right when I graduated high school is when I came out of the closet, and so when I went to college orientation, I met this guy. Let's say his name is Derek. I met Derek and at college orientation, and he lived not so far away from me in Connecticut from where I was in New Jersey. So like between the time of college orientation and the start of college, like that window of like a month, we decided to meet up because, I don't know, just for a date. But I don't know why we decided, but we decided to meet up on a camping trip. So I lied to my mom and I told her I was meeting up with a bunch of friends from college orientation to go on a camping trip. But in reality, I was meeting up with this one guy named Derek to meet him in the woods, and I barely knew him. So definitely, like, was not a smart idea to lie to my parents and to like meet this random guy in the woods. It ended up being okay. Like, I met the guy in the woods. When I got there, I remember being so not into it. Like, sexually, I was just like, I do not want to be hooking up with this guy. And I felt really bad because I ended up the next day lying to him and telling him that I was sick and had to leave early. And then, like, breaking up with him over text. Like, that was just, like, so awful of me. And then after that, we never really talked that much. Like, we ended up going to college together and being, like, kind of friendly, but we never really talked that much after that. I definitely feel guilty about that one. I hope he's doing well. He was a really nice guy. But so that was before college. Then college, the first guy was Solomon, and then the second guy, let's say his name was Robert. Robert, I was so in love with. Like, in hindsight, I wasn't in love, but I was definitely infatuated. But at the time, I thought I was in love, and he ended up not being that into me, but he would kind of string me along, and he was closeted, and he was in my fraternity, so it was complex and not like simple, and definitely toxic, because I remember one time we hooked up after like a frat party and people thought he was straight, and he gave me a hickey, and he was like, Eric, you have to wear this turtleneck to cover up the hickey so that people don't know that I'm gay, and like gave you a hickey. I was like, how would people know that it was you? Like, you're being so extra. And I did not wear a turtleneck. It was like summer. This guy was kind of an asshole. And now he like works in politics. I'm not going to tell you his name, but he's kind of like big in politics now. So I hope he's doing well too. Oh, even though he wasn't the nicest, I really do hope that he's well. I think that we all grow as people, and sometimes we are fighting inner demons, and I wouldn't want him to not be able to grow from that and atone, and I don't want to hold this grudge against him, so I hope all the guys I've ever dated are doing well, even if they did hurt me. And in sophomore year of college, I was hooking up with this guy who was working, interning at the Spanish embassy. He was like older than me. I think he was like 22, and I was like 19, so I remember being really into that. He was so cute, and we like hooked up and dated for like the summer. It was like a summer fling. My parents randomly met him because they were visiting me, but it was nothing serious. Yeah, he was really cute. I could tell you his name is Juan. He was really sweet, and I actually, when I studied in Spain, I went and I stayed with him for a couple nights, platonically, but it was a good time. And then after before Juan, wow, I really dated a lot. I missed a guy, this guy named Daniel. So then, his name was Daniel, and he was really cool. He was bisexual, and he was the first guy that was bisexual that I'd ever dated. So that was something I was just learning about, and he was really sweet too. He was always really complimenting me all the time, and I love that, but he wasn't serious either. The most fun memory of Tony is that he worked in, I don't remember if he worked in the housing department at GW, but where I went to college, but somehow we had access to like one of the dorms, and it was like an empty dorm, like there was no one living there at the time, like the whole building was empty, and he had access to it. And I remember we went around and like made out in all the rooms in the dorm while they were all empty, because I don't know, I thought it was really sexy at the time, and like felt like ooh sneaky, but there was no one there. It was just an empty dorm building. So shout out to Tony if you're watching for giving me that sexy memory. Let's see, after Tony's sophomore year, did I date anyone else? I really have to think about that. It's like getting kind of blurry. It was so long ago at this point. There was Tony, and then there was, I'm sure there was someone else. It's not coming to my mind right now. But then, let's move on. Oh yeah, this was a big one. This other guy that I dated at the end of sophomore year, going into the summer, I worked as an orientation leader, and I dated one of the other orientation leaders. Let's say his name was Tom. And Tom was like super hot, bro-y guy that like everyone thought was so cute, and I remember feeling like really self-conscious, honestly, when dating him, because everyone thought he was so cute, and everyone was always talking about how attractive he was, and it just made me honestly feel self-conscious, and that was like an internal issue that I didn't really approach at the time. I didn't really put too much thought into it, but I remember that bothering me. And I think had I been in a relationship like that now, I would have to like do more internal thinking and talking and introspection to kind of unwork that self-consciousness. But I do remember that about him. He actually ended up like ghosting me low-key. Like I studied abroad right after sophomore year, like the first semester of junior year. And when I went abroad, I texted him being like, "Oh hey, how you doing?" And he just never responded. I feel like we haven't really even talked since then that much. At all. So if you're watching this, Tony, we could be friends, don't worry. Down to be his name was not Tony. I called him, I forget what, I'm mixing up names because I'm not using real names, so I apologize for that. But I wish I could just use real names. I just want to protect these people's identities. I don't know how you'd ever find them, but just want to be fair to them. After him moving to junior year, like I said, I studied abroad my first semester, my junior year of college in Ecuador. I went to Quito, and I lived there for like 6 months. It was a while. And when I was there, I had this really romantic fling with this guy. I can give you his real name, because he's definitely not watching this, I don't think. Well, I don't know. Let's say, yeah, I'll give you his name is Andre, okay? Let's say his name is Andre. Andre was really hot and like really fun. We like went to all these clubs, and he introduced me to all of his friends. I was studying abroad, so I didn't know anyone, but Andre like introduced me to all of his local friends, and he like studied at the university, so he introduced me to all the people at his university and took me to all the like cool spots in Quito because he's from there, and that was a really great experience. And we chatted for a long time after I left, not in like a romantic way, but just as friends. And I think that, you know, he's probably really successful right now. I remember he's really smart. Who knows what he's up to, but I hope he somehow finds this video. After I came back to the U.S. my junior year, did I date anyone? Let's see. No, my God, I didn't date anyone. I remember I was very single. One of my friends I made out with, but I think that was it. I didn't date anyone. That friend and I have now a complex relationship, but I did make out with the friend when I got back from study abroad. And that summer, like, it was complicated, but let's move into senior year of college. I started dating this guy that I had met on Tinder. We dated very casually. He was also from Spain. And let's say his nickname was Kike. So Kike was really cool. He took me to like all these fun concerts. And when I studied abroad in Spain, I actually met his family. That was really cool. And I remember he's from Spain. And when I studied abroad in Spain, he wrote me all these letters that were like really beautifully written and were like written in calligraphy. And he was like, each letter was titled with a city in Spain. And he said, open each letter like when you go to that city. So every time I visited a new city, I opened one of his letters, and his letters were always so romantic and like listed out all the best places in that city that I should go see. So Kike, thank you for that. I'll always remember that. I actually think I still have those letters somewhere. That was just like amazing of him to do, and I'll always think so fondly of him. Then when I got back from Spain, I wasn't dating anyone, but I was hooking up with another closeted guy. I hooked up with so many closeted guys, and like I don't think it was the healthiest decision for me. So I haven't done that in a long time, but I was hooking up with another closeted guy who was so closeted. This will be a story time for another day, but he was so closeted that he literally lied about his name. So to be honest, I don't even know his actual name, but we hooked up for a while, like for years. Every time I was single, I would like hit him up. And I wonder if he's out now. I doubt it, but he definitely won't be seeing this video. But yeah, he was so closeted. But my senior year, I actually like really fell in love with one of my best friends who was a straight man, and that got really messy. I'm not gonna dive too much into that. Maybe that, just to protect his privacy, but that got messy. I promised myself I would never fall in love with a straight guy again, and I haven't since then. So I think I'm doing a really good job. But yeah, falling in love with straight guys is so hard. Tell me down below if you've ever fallen in love with a straight guy and like what you did to get over it. I like really struggled with that. It took me a really long time to get over him. Wow, like why do I fall in love with straight men? I don't think I'll ever fall in love with another straight man, so cross your fingers for me. After senior year of college, when I was in love with that straight guy, I began to hook up with this guy who was a coworker. So, like I said, I did Teach for America. One of the other teachers I began hooking up with, I can tell you his name probably because I don't think he'd care, because we still are really good friends. But just for his sake, I won't. Let's say his name was Jonathan. And Jonathan is like to this day, one of the best guys I've ever like dated. We're really good friends still. There's still a little bit of flirtation between us, but nothing serious. And I just really love him from the bottom of my heart. So Jonathan, I don't know, I know you follow my Instagram videos, but if you're watching, hello. Jonathan, I actually ended up, we were roommates for Teach for America for like a 2-day orientation, and we hooked up at orientation in our room. Like, one of my favorite memories is that one, so such a good time with him. And he was poly, so he had a boyfriend, and I remember being really into him, but he already had a boyfriend, so it just never worked out between us. But now we're just friends, so whatever, it worked out for the best. It worked out how it was supposed to. After him, I dated a lot of guys. My like first year out of college, like just 1 or 2 dates each. I was really lonely at the time, I guess. I just kept going on these dates, but nothing ever got serious until the end of my first year out of college is when I met my first boyfriend, my first like true boyfriend, where like we were called each other boyfriends and we were really in love and it was really happy. And I've already mentioned him, you've seen him in videos because we were still dating. We dated a long time, even when I had this channel. His name is Reggie, and I still have all the love in the world for Reggie. I don't think he still watches my videos. I really doubt it. But if he does, if you're watching Reggie, I love you so much still. You know, your first love will always be really important to you. And the reason, so Reggie and I met actually at a bar one night. It was like in June. Actually, I remember the day. It was our anniversary, June 3rd, and we met at a bar. And I was with my friend Siobhan, and we were just like really drunk. And Siobhan was like bawling her eyes out about something. I think she was literally crying because she wanted an Uber home, but the Uber was too expensive. So she started crying, which is like so funny. But then like as she was crying, I saw this guy who was Reggie, and I thought he was so hot. And I like said out loud purposefully so he'd hear me. I was like, Siobhan, that guy over there is so hot. And then he came up to me, and like the rest is history. We dated like pretty immediately. I lost my virginity to him. He was the first guy I ever had sex with, and like we had like such an immediate spark. Like we met that night on a Friday night, and then the next morning he came over for a date, like, and we made empanadas. I remember I was a teacher at the time, so I wanted to make empanadas for my students, and I invited him over. Like I thought that'd be a good first date idea, and we made empanadas together. And he always joked around about it because he was like, why did you invite me over to make empanadas for our first date? Like, in your apartment, and your roommate was there. My roommate was literally home, and he was there too. And I was like wearing sweatpants. So it's just funny to think about. But yeah, we dated for like over 2 years. We broke up like shortly after our second anniversary because he was going to law school, and I don't know, just things happen in life, and we broke up. And Reggie was definitely my biggest, most serious relationship I've ever had. And yeah, we dated a long time, and still have all the love in the world for him. He's in law school now, and I think he's really happy, which is great. But that's every guy that I can remember right now off the top of my head that I've ever dated. This was a fun video for me to make, and felt good to just like talk about this. If any of you have any questions or want to hear me expand on any of these in like a story time like video, just comment down below. I'm happy to do that. If any of you know any single great people in New York who you think I might be a good fit for, also let me know. If you know anyone in the New York metropolitan area, always happy to go on a date. Otherwise, please just subscribe